1 2 1 2. I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek podcast. Let's go.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Yeah, making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? My name is Rockin' Mr. Magic, and this is the original Jeek podcast. I am glad to be here. Unfortunately, I am without my wonderful co-host, the one and only Unique DNA. We had a quarter of episode recorded before life happened. So for all those who are wondering where Unique DNA has been, we did try to chop it up and make another episode with us both, but it didn't happen, so the drought continues. However, do not despair. We have returning guest to the show. He is the author of Swim, Kelly Swim, The Search for Sadaka, The Story of Solace, Little Rock Files, Tuskegee Airs, and so much more content. The one and only Greg Burnham.
What up, man? That's a flattering introduction. Thank you.
No, thanks to if y'all don't know this man, y'all need to know this man, because what he does for the culture within the realm of comic books, children's books, should be highly respected and appreciated. So if you don't know this man's work, check the comments, check the description. There'll be links to where you can find him online. You can find his work, and definitely check it out, because it is all good stuff that is beautifully written and uplifting for the culture.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. The first part of the show, if you're not used to the original Jeek podcast, we normally start talking about what we've been playing, watching, and or creating. Since Greg is an author and he's a returning guest, I'm not going to have him go through the interview part. We're just going to jump right into it. So, Greg, tell me about what I've been meaning to ask you about. Talk to us about the Icon story. How did that come about that you wrote an Icon story?
So I try to be, brief. So they did a milestone initiative. It opened up like 2 years ago. And what they were doing is looking for new writers and artists just to bring in DC Comics. If you're not familiar with Milestone, Milestone is a comic book company that was created by Black men who were already working in the comic book industry in the 90s. They decided to come together to put together this company, and then DC kind of brought them in and was like, why don't you guys do it under our umbrella to where you can get access to our distribution, like all the stuff. So Static or Static Shock, a lot of people know him as, was probably the most popular character to come from that. Icon is their
He's like their Superman.
Like their most powerful. He's like the Superman of the story. So, we're at the initiative, and it was an amazing experience. We could do a whole show on that alone.
We should do a whole show on that, because because Greg is shown in the documentary. There's a dope documentary on Milestone.
I'm Flash.
He's a Flash. There's a Flash, but you in it. But the documentary, if anyone listening hasn't seen it, the documentary, I believe, is still on Max, HBO Max. And it's a really dope documentary about Milestone, its origins, the men behind it, and the legacy of Milestone. Like Greg said, Static, the character, or the TV show Static Shock, birthed out of that, is something that may trigger your memory. So if you're familiar with Static Shock, Rocket, Icon, others, Milestone is where that came out of, and that's who Greg had the pleasure of writing for.
Yeah. And so it was really, we actually did, like, the writers did a writing course, the artists did an artist course. It was like an 8-week course, like master type stuff, like on, writing comics. And so they basically told us, start coming up with ideas for, 8-page stories. And they gave us like parameters. The parameters was like a solo story, a team up, and then the last one was like whatever you want to do.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. As much as I love Milestone, Icon was always a little bit of a conflicting character for me.
Oh, he was supposed to be.
Yeah, he was absolutely supposed to be. But him being like a conservative, and
not just conservative, but a super conservative on the extreme.
Yeah.
He wasn't the typical black conservative. He was on that other side.
Yeah. And then Rocket, and I understand, like Dwayne McDuffie, like they were geniuses. But what they did is they were showing like this contradiction, and you got the Rocket who's like the young radical, she's on her Tupac type stuff, you know what I mean? So it's like, you put them two together and, through them, like lots of understanding and lots of growth happens and healing, and like it's kind of metaphorical for like the black community in some ways, So like I said, I liked him, but I didn't like him.
Right.
So when they did the, they did the reboot, and season 1 of the comic book, it kind of mirrored the old, like what happened in the beginning.
Yeah.
But they did tell a little bit more about his backstory.
Okay.
And so the part where like he created this territory. Once he came into his power, he created a territory where enslaved people could come and be protected by him and live freely. So, they had a guy, the United States government hired this guy who's an alien who's from his planet to come to, like take him out or whatever. And so that's what happened. So that's where my story, I read that and it inspired me to create the story that I did, which is just to give more, because my thing was like, why would this, person who's got so much power, and he, was born on Earth into slavery, right? Why would you sit back while all this stuff is happening? Like, why? So I went to create that, which even then kind of became like a metaphor for what happened with us, right? Like we got out of, Emancipation Proclamation happened. We literally pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. We started building communities. We started, thriving and getting education and all this kind of stuff. And then, the black codes come and Jim Crow later on, so it's like, it was this serious beatdown, to make us docile until we rose up again in the, the civil rights era.
Movement, yep.
And of course, then they beat us down again to where,
Yep.
So, it was, metaphorical from that standpoint. I also I call it an ode to the black woman, because this is what it was, right? Like, no matter how strong and, powerful you were as a man, like actually the stronger and more powerful you were, the worse you got it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? From the abuse, from every area. And it was like the black woman was always there to
uplift,
hold you, love you, and then put you up. You know what I mean? So I wanted to show that, as well. So it's an 8-page story. I like the pacing. I like the way it flows, but there's a lot to read between the lines in there,
That's super dope. And I encourage everybody to check it out, to check out more about Icon if you're really interested in the dichotomy that exists between Icon and Rocket and the whole story with that Milestone presented. And he said McDuffie. McDuffie was fantastic. The whole team. But Dwayne gets so much probably, and may he rest in peace. But like it's just what they did was amazing, and that it's so cool that you have the opportunity to continue that legacy that started there. With Black comics by Black authors speaking to Black life is such a unique opportunity because comics has not been the traditional medium that we've been able to tell our stories in. It's always been looked at as as a white folks thing. Not that we didn't read them, but being able to tell our stories in that way, it was always if our story were told, it was told through a white lens. Like X-Men. As an example, everyone uses the X-Men parallel to deal with racism, but so many of the X-Men are white folks, Jewish folks, and it's told through, that European Azakanani Jew, that lens, and what you've been able to do, continuing Milestone's legacy, which is not, it isn't even that old. I mean, Milestone was the late 80s, early 90s. Like, it's not that old of a legacy. But you being able to be a part of continuing that is just, super awesome. That's why I definitely wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Real quick, we're going to do a quick transition here into the sports world because that's what we do on this show. All things jock, all things geek. So first off, rest in peace. A moment of condolences to the family of Eric Montross, the former center of UNC, national champion, NBA player, passed away at 52 years old from cancer. So our condolences to the Montross family and all who loved Eric Montross.
Did that just happen? Or?
Yeah, that news broke this morning.
Oh, wow. Man.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was sick. And also rest in peace and shout out to the family of Andre Braugher, mostly known for his roles in Tuskegee Airmen, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and others. He also passed away from lung cancer at 61 years old. All right, so we're going to move on to Week 15 of the NFL season is almost over. Since we're recording on Monday, outside of tonight's game between the Eagles and the Seahawks, we've got an interesting playoff race with 3 weeks left to go. My question, Greg, right now, as it stands, what is your Super Bowl pick? Who's going to make the Super Bowl? Who's going to win it all?
So the NFC, I feel comfortable. I have a little emotional tie to the 49ers. I feel like they're a well-oiled machine. They had a little, stumble.
They weren't healthy.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it's like you lose Debo and Trent Williams, and it's like, let's just skip this game. But I feel like if they're healthy, I feel like they're like really, really rolling, at least to get to the Super Bowl. The AFC, man, I'm kind of all over the place. My heart is with, the hometown.
Oh,
KC.
That's right, them KC Chiefs.
But them receivers, I'm at a point where it's like I can't trust them. You can't trust them at all. So, but I do still feel like I'll take Pat Mahomes in a fist fight with anybody. But man, if Buffalo can creep in, like what they did yesterday, man.
To Dallas, yeah,
like that. They could. Their offensive line is so much better this year. Last year, that offensive line was pretty bad. If Buffalo can creep in, man, I don't know. I have a ton of faith in Miami because it seems that they beat up the bad teams and lose to the solid teams,
the decent teams.
So, yeah. I mean, I would love for San Francisco and Kansas City to run it back, but I have to pick, right?
Give me just a little bit of a pick, like it don't have to be perfect, just a little something. I mean, it sounds to me like you're going Frisco and KC.
But then Baltimore, man.
Are you really that worried about Baltimore?
I mean, their defense is solid, and Lamar, man. Like, did you see that game last night?
And I love Lamar, and I want the best for Lamar. However, I've never seen him do it on the playoffs yet. On playoff time, he hasn't been that Lamar that we expect him to eventually show up playoff time. He hasn't done it yet, and I can't bank on potential. And this is what, his 6 years as a starter?
There's other things. He had a horrible offensive coordinator. He didn't have weapons on the outside. I think like last night was kind of like a playoff.
But see, I can't accept
atmosphere.
that. I can't accept that. You know why? Because I saw Mike Vick perform in the playoffs without weapons on the outside and without a great offensive line. Eventually, later on, he had weapons. But we saw Mike get to the playoffs and do what he could do without really much help. They still lost. Later on when he had Duckett and Dunn, but before then,
pretty early.
No, that was later. Because before him, we can't even remember who his running back was before he got Warwick and T.J. Dunn.
That was early, man.
Nah, that wasn't.
I was here.
That wasn't that early. His first couple years, that year that played Minnesota in the playoffs, and they shocked everybody. He had nobody that we could name except for like Algie Crumpler. And maybe Peerless Price. And Peerless Price wasn't catching nothing.
Dude, Warwick Dunn came to Atlanta in 2002. He was there. I remember.
Okay, then he didn't have TJ.
What year did Duckett come? I feel like Duckett came.
I want to say like
the same time.
I think it was like 06.
Because they was
TJ there earlier.
They was in the backfield together.
Yeah,
pull it up.
It was DVD.
Duckett got there in 2002 as well. Mike had them the whole time. He
it felt like it was later. Well, maybe that's why I can't remember who was the running back beforehand.
Yeah, no, remember? I think the year that Mike became the full-time starter, they was there.
Oh, he had nobody to throw to.
No, not at first.
He had nobody to throw to.
He got Roddy White and Peerless Price.
And I know that name brings a lot of pain to Falcons.
I'm not a Falcons fan.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying. I know the pain that name brings to Falcons fans is why I don't like to say it, because Peerless Price.
I just remember his exit when he was leaving to go to Buffalo.
Oh my God! Yes.
The local news had they were like trying to interview him as he was like walking to his car, and he turned around. He turned around and he said, "I hate y'all."
They did make that man's life miserable. They really did.
It was so. My thing with Vic, always, if you look at when Dan Reeves had him, Dan Reeves was teaching him how to play real football, real quarterback.
Yeah.
And so, if you look at his numbers he put up that 1 year under Dan Reeves, they were pretty nice.
They were nice.
And if they would have kept him, you'd have seen a whole different Michael Vick.
Yes.
But then, you bring in Dumbo and Jim Moore
Jr.
And they run the wing T. And their wide receiver routes consist of, 10-yard curls, 5-yard curls. You know
Everyone ran a button hook for them. That's all they did.
That's all. And I'm like, man, you're watching this dude with this amazing arm. Like his arm, I seen it live, man.
Mike could sling that thing,
man. And it's like you got him running these routes. You got these receivers that might be able to do something, but again, button hooks.
That's all they did.
Bubble screens.
And I never understood how they couldn't make it work with him. You have a southpaw quarterback who's the most mobile quarterback we've ever seen, and he can throw the thing. How can you not make it work? How can you not get receivers in position to make plays?
They did what a lot of terrible coaches do. They dumb down the quarterback. They dumb down the offense. I remember when I found out what Dan Marino's Wonderlic score was, it was really, really terrible. They say he was a really, he wasn't a smart man, but he knew how to play that position better than almost anybody that ever did it, And so it's like he got a coach that was like, no, I'm going to let you be you and take advantage of all these great things that you do. And instead, you get this coach who's like, I'm going to keep my job, and we're going to run a Division I high school offense, and, everything's going to be fine. You see what Vic did under Andy Reid, and that lets you know, like, what you could have been seeing in Atlanta.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he was,
yeah. And I mean, even though the wing tee wasn't the best thing, because to me, if you're going to go all running, then they should have brought in more blocking tight ends, and then they should have gone triple option and just said, we're going to run it, and I dare you to stop us. And you would have had a viable running game compared to a wing T, like you said, which is something that they run in D3 FBS or in high school. It hasn't been a viable pro offense in forever.
No. It was terrible.
So you're worried about Baltimore?
After last night, if you saw that game last night, because there was kind of a playoff atmosphere. Jacksonville has a really good defense.
Yeah.
And I watched, before, where it almost felt like there was maybe 30% of the plays that they were going to run, it was just not going to work. Lamar was going to get sacked or was going to get stopped, whatever. This year, because the routes that they're running is clearing out space, it's like you have to decide if we're playing man coverage, we can't rush him too hard.
Right. You have to play the honest right now.
Right. And that's what I saw last night, man. There was so many times where it looked like the play was done and Lamar figured out how to make something happen. But because you got Odell and you got guys running deeper routes. It's like, he gets past a couple guys. Now he's got a 12-yard run.
Right.
And he don't even have to worry about getting hit.
Because the field is stretched out.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just feel, and their defense is pretty nasty, man. They made Trevor Lawrence look like.
They made him look ordinary.
Look bad. Yeah. So, but, I mean, I'm with you until, it's the same with the Cowboys. Until I see you do something in the soup, in
the playoffs,
I would just like to see if the Chiefs can't get there, I would like to see Lamar get there.
Okay.
So let's go 49ers Chiefs.
Niners Chiefs. Okay. So a rematch. Okay. I'm not foolish enough to pick my team. So, to me, if San Francisco is healthy, no one in the NFC, in my opinion, has a chance if San Francisco's healthy. They're just too strong, too balanced on offense and defense. I don't care if it's Philly.
Players at every level of the defense.
Yes, and they have playmakers on both sides of the ball. I don't care if it's Philly. I don't care if it's Dallas, Detroit. Doesn't matter. If San Francisco's healthy, they're in the Super Bowl. And honestly, if San Francisco's healthy, to me, they win the Super Bowl, regardless of who comes out the AFC. I think Pat Mahomes is good. I don't think that the Chiefs are strong enough, especially defensively. If they rematch with Philly, I don't think they win against Philly if they play them again this year. I don't think they have enough weapons offensively to keep ahead, and I don't think they have the defense to prevent them from scoring.
But they got the equalizer, man.
Not when your wide receivers are lining up off sides. It don't matter.
But I mean, the first,
and that would have never happened with Juju or some of these other receivers who know what they're doing. Tony, and remember, week 1 against my Lions, how many balls did Tony miss or drop?
He blew that game.
He blew that game. Yeah. They should have won that game. And it's week 15, and he's still screwing up the same way. If your weapons, your number 2 receiver's doing that, and you're losing games because he doesn't know how to line up, well, I played wideout. I played tight end. I've never lined up offsides on offense in my life.
He didn't even check
and he didn't check
at first
either.
I was mad because the referees will do you a solid.
Half the time they do tell him to get back. Yeah.
Yeah. But you need to check with him though. This is the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In high school, a ref will tell you, man, scoot back.
Just get back.
But he's
looking.
Over and point.
And he's looking. His head's looking at the line of scrimmage. It's not like he's old school wideout where his head's forward and he's ready to go. His head is turned. He is looking at the center, at Pat. How do you not know you're offsides?
He wasn't even wide. He was
in the slot. It's like, come on, man.
But here's the thing, because people forget that first Super Bowl, the first one against the 49ers, that playoff run, we had terrible wide receiver play. Tyreek was dropping balls.
Yeah.
Kelsey was dropping balls. I'm talking about detrimental, 3rd and 8, and you got a 20-yard gain and just can't catch it. So he's always dealt with receivers messing up. He just, if he can get in his zone, man.
I mean, Patty's dangerous, man. He's the most dangerous QB playing. I don't take a single thing away from him.
But I'm with you though. It's like some flaws. Now the defense is getting better because whatchamacallit? What's the linebacker?
Jones.
32. No. What's his name? Why am I doing this right now? Because I know him very well. Let me. Bolton, Nick Bolton.
Oh, Bolton. Okay.
Yeah, he was out, and he got back. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a wild card thing. I think if they match up against Buffalo, they can figure out.
I'm not worried about Buffalo. Buffalo is too up and down.
Yeah, but they're starting to be up a lot.
I don't believe in Buffalo. I don't. I really don't. I don't believe in them. Because you don't know which Buffalo. I mean, they may win 1 week, but the next week they're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I'm not scared of Buffalo if I'm in the AFC. Honestly, if the AFC, nobody really sticks out. I think your 2 most consistent or solid teams are Baltimore and Kansas City. And I think everybody else there, if they get hot, then you could be worried. If Denver had beaten Detroit, I would be worried about Denver. But yeah. I don't know. They got hot for a while. I don't know if they can sustain that. But
not this year.
Not this year. But if the right team gets hot, then it's like, okay, maybe. But nobody is playing that consistent enough for football. Miami's not playing that consistently. Denver's not playing that consistently. Outside of Kansas City and Baltimore, no one's really consistently playing good football. So those are the 2 teams, to me, that have the best shot. And I think Kansas City's experience will win out.
Yeah.
I would prefer personally, to see Baltimore go back there because I'm a big defense, a football guy. But, those are the 2 best teams to me in the AFC. NFC, like I said, to me, unless they're hurt, just let the San Francisco's go in there. I mean,
But here's the one thing, man. I'll never fully trust this. I call him Shanahan, and I get it. He's a genius, and I mean he does some really brilliant things. But I don't trust him in the playoffs, man. Like he's the 28-3 guy. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fair point.
He's the let's throw the ball, and all they had to do was run the ball and kick a field goal, and they got a 9-point lead against the, and instead they take an 8-yard sack.
They take a shot. Yeah, they take the sack, trying to take a shot downfield. Yeah.
Now you're out of play.
Now you're out of kicking range. Yeah.
Like I watched them, so nothing's confused. Back in, remember the catch game with Dwight Clark?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I lost that bet to my dad, and I had, I was, 6 or something, but he was like, because we had just moved to the States.
Yeah.
And so we were living in Idaho. All I ever saw was like the Steelers and the Cowboys.
Okay.
Because that was that time, right?
Right, yeah,
and so
exactly.
That's the two teams I liked. And my dad was a 49er fan. I can't remember the receiver, but my dad loved them forever, whatever. So my dad was 49ers going to win.
Was it with John Taylor?
No, this like
before Taylor and Rice?
Yeah, 60s, 70s.
Okay.
Stuff. So my dad, he was like, if the 49ers win, you got to be a 49er fan. And, I'm a kid. I took that literally.
You took that bet. Look, okay.
So I've been a 49er fan. There's been a couple of times where I was just like pissed, like when they let Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott and them go, where I was like, I'm gonna find another team. But I didn't find another team. But then like the Kaepernick stuff and them letting go of Jim Harbaugh, who instantly made us relevant.
Yeah.
Frank Gore leaving, Patrick Willis retiring. Like, it was a whole thing, man. So I was like, the Kaepernick thing was like my last straw. I was like, I'm going to find another team. I didn't find another team, but I, do open up because Kansas City, that's like the home thing. So
yeah.
I've always rooted for them. They just never was,
They just wasn't relevant for a while. Yeah.
They had that run, that Priest Holmes and Trent Green and them.
Yeah.
They balled.
Dante Hall. Yeah.
No defense.
Zero defense.
So,
but again, but Vermeil was coaching. So did you expect any defense?
I expected a little, man. Try. And of course, when Joe Montana went there, that was...
He made him scary. Yeah, they made the playoffs.
Yeah, so I've always, had, the Chiefs in my heart. So that's why I juggle right now, because I don't like Shanahan. I don't like what they did with Robert Griffin and Washington. But it's like, I still, it's like I'm never going to not root for the 49ers.
I got you.
I didn't realize until that Super Bowl happened, and I was kind of on the side of the Chiefs, but I was secretly, I didn't let nobody know because it's like, but I also root for black quarterbacks above everything. So, sorry about all that, but I had to just clear that up. So
no need to apologize. I'm the same way. I'm rooting. I'm rooting for everybody black, especially on the QB side.
Yeah.
All right. Transitioning to the hardwood. So on the episode that Unique DNA tried to record but couldn't finish, I was going to talk about Draymond's suspension for the chokehold on Rudy Gobert. However, since that transpired,
because he's committed another crime.
Draymond has committed another on-court felony and has now been suspended indefinitely by the National Basketball Association. So my question to you, G, is Draymond's indefinite suspension fair or foul?
So I'm looking at the NBA side-eyed with the indefinite thing, because that could be 10 games. That could be 60 games. So I won't be able to say if it's fair or not until we see how many games it is. I feel like it needs to be at least 25. But I'm also I've had it with that dude.
So let me rephrase it then. Do you think Draymond's NBA career is done?
Nah. If not for the simple fact that they just re-signed him to a 4-year, $100 million deal. So I don't think they're gonna just if the Warriors were waived him or something like that, then I would say maybe, yeah. But I don't think it's done. I don't think his career deserves to be over. I think the Warriors have a lot of blood on their hands in this situation. I don't, use that term to say but just in this situation, because they've allowed him to get away with so much. This dude cost you a championship. He cost you the best player your team had, like Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
we can say whatever, man, but I watched, and there's rumors that Jordan Poole might be a distant, relative. So,
I didn't hear that. What?
I root for Jordan. Sometimes to my own,
to your detriment. Much to your chagrin, you root for Jordan Poole. Okay,
yeah. But they don't win that championship without Jordan. When Steph went down and Jordan picked up,
yeah,
and basically provided the same numbers, they don't win that without him. And then I'm noticing a thing. I don't know Draymond personally. I do understand a little bit about psychology, and this, when you're coaching, when you're in there, you can kind of feel. But it seems like whenever there's a threat, because KD was up for a contract, Draymond was up for a contract. If KD gets the max, Draymond might be playing somewhere else.
Right.
So kind of drove him off the team. Jordan gets that deal the year before Draymond comes up. I'm going to punch you in the face. You know what I'm saying? There's been things, right? So I say all that to say that the Warriors have sat back. They let him, like I said, cost a championship, cost Kevin Durant, cost Jordan Poole. I don't know. I watched the last 2 games. Wiggins looks like a different, he looks happy and energetic with no Draymond out there. Jonathan Kuminga should be starting and should be playing 30 minutes a game. He's his energy, athleticism. He's that guy that he could be right now. He could be kind of in that Sean Marion role for them.
Okay.
That guy that just
Mr. Everything.
Yeah, 20 points, and you don't have to call a play for him.
Right. He's getting hustle points. He's getting rebounds. He's hitting open shots.
Yeah, so his growth is being stunted. Dale Davis' son, what's his name? Trey,
yeah.
Jackson Davis or Davis Jackson, whatever. I watched him last night. He, blocking shots at the top of the square and doing stuff. I'm you ruined. This is my whole thing. And I met Steve Kerr. He's a wonderful, super nice human. So nothing against that. But your loyalty to all these old dudes is stunning the growth of these young kids. And it's hurting the team because the old dudes ain't getting it done no more.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is, it's only been 2 years since they just got it done. So it's tough to determine when do you pull the trigger and say, all right, we've got to move away from these guys, because that's a precarious balance. Now,
I think it's a phasing though, right? So when they won, Andrew Wiggins was the second best player on the team. He was the best defender.
Yes.
And he was the second leading scorer. He hit big buckets too. It wasn't just,
Yeah, he hit big shots, absolutely.
Yeah. And so
they were talking about if Steph hadn't gone off, they were talking about him being in contention for the Finals MVP.
Right. So I think it's just a balance. But Draymond has to be willing to come off the bench because we don't need a linebacker in the starting lineup, man. Clay.
So you're saying he's in the wrong era? He's playing ball in the
No,
wrong
I'm
area.
saying he's past like his youth.
He's
what
past
made
his
him-
usefulness.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
And there's still some youthful though.
So he's no something, but he's kind of like he's like where Lambeer was coming into the mid '90s. He was like, you know what, I'm not effective anymore. It's time for me to step away.
I don't think he has to step away. He just needs to. They need to.
Or
make
you're
him
saying
take
he needs to step back. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like, but because I mean, I'm thinking just offensively because their defense is terrible.
Yes.
So let's just have a good offensive team. Steph he's able to play more free when there's other offensive threats on the court. Like if you know that, right? Like if you got one guy that just ain't gonna give you no offense, he's not a threat at all.
And and he used to be. That's the thing. And I think in his mind, he thinks he still is the offensive threat that he used to be. But when they got KD and they kind of had to phase him out of the offense, he's been out of sync since then. And I said that from the jump. They're like, why is Dre missing his threes? I said, because he's not the third option anymore, and he's not in an offensive flow. Yeah. And he hasn't been able to get back into it.
I love talking to people that know basketball. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, because it's like, because we both know we played the game. It's a rhythm game, and he hasn't been in a rhythm. And after that, the personnel changes haven't allowed him to get back into even a similar rhythm that they had pre-KD. Because the type of player Wiggins is, the type of player that Kevon Looney is, because Kevon does so many of the things that Dre did that no one else was doing, that David Lee wasn't doing and Bogut wasn't doing. So Kevon Looney taking some of that Draymond stuff away, kept him into his flow, just did not allow Draymond to be able to get into the position where he could be the offensive factor that he used to be, and in his mind that he still is. And Russell has the same problem, which I think is why he's thriving with the Clippers and couldn't do it with the Lakers, because he thought he was still that old Russ. And in Houston, he couldn't thrive because he thought he was that same dude, and he needed to take a step back. Slightly different, but Russ needed to come off the bench with the Lakers, and everybody knew it.
My problem with that, and Lakers fan to the death, is the way that they handled that.
Like, they didn't handle it well.
Yeah, they brought him in. They said,
you're starting, you're this, you're that.
We want you to be you.
Right.
And he never got to be him. Just like right now, D'Angelo Russell is not allowed to be him. If you're a ball handler playing with LeBron, you're not going to be allowed to be you.
No. Which is why I don't know why any primarily ball handler would want to play LeBron.
In the first place.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But Dre he's not able to get himself into rhythm. And honestly, if he's ever going to get back into rhythm, I think it's got to be outside of Golden State. I think Golden State has to move on from him. I don't know where he would fit, because his reputation is so volatile right now that touching him would be, you're putting your team in a position to be negatively impacted if you bring him on and he does something. Then okay, now you got this piece that you brought in. Now he's suspended for the rest of the season if he does something else, or who knows how long. Especially if you're going for a run and you need him to be key to that run, you're really banking a big risk if you take Draymond on.
Yeah,
and he doesn't want to. And he doesn't want to play for a rebuilder. He doesn't want to go play in Atlanta or Detroit or anybody. He doesn't have time for that.
If you send him to a team that needs like a star, like a player, he probably would be out of the league in a couple of years because his skill set doesn't fit that mode.
Right.
I know the perfect place for him, like if he was to go somewhere.
Okay.
But unfortunately, he just punched their center in the face. He would be perfect
in Phoenix. You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why? Because him and KD can't coexist.
They're cool. They got back cool.
They say that because, but they
true.
ain't team. You know what it's like to be cool with somebody that you used to be teammates with, but you never want to play with them again.
Yeah. But I think he would be perfect there. I mean, like if I like on paper, let's say.
Yeah, basketball wise, yes, I see what you're saying.
They don't have a point guard. He can help with distribution. He would be a great defender.
He'll
Great
do the dirty
communicator.
work. They don't have a dirty work guy. Yeah.
Right. I think. Well, they got one, Josh Okogie.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's not. He's smaller. You know what I'm saying? He can't.
And they need
Jokic.
Right, and they need the support.
Draymond lock up Jokic.
Absolutely.
You know
and they need the support that they lost in trading for KD and Beal. Like they gave up so much to get those guys that they need another body that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I had in my mind, I was like, this summer, I was like, I feel like Draymond would go, if he went there, they could be like a contender. They're probably, people might consider him a contender. I don't. You
got too many guys that do the same thing. Beal and Booker do too much of the same thing. You don't have a true point guard, which was the big difference when they had CP and why they got to that finals, because they had a true point guard who knew how to distribute the ball and get the team going.
And control the pace. When Book, I love Book, but when they got him playing point, it's like
he's not a point.
Book is balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting buckets and I'm like everything is boom boom. So it's not there's not a whole bunch of different gears.
But Book has never played point. He doesn't know how to play point. No. And you shouldn't ask him to, because that's not who he is as a player. They need a point.
If I was coaching that team, I would have KD playing the point.
Well, he has a more passive mindset than Book does.
Yeah.
And honestly, him being 6'11", who's stopping his entry passes anywhere?
Right.
Nobody.
And if he's at the top of the key, you can't zone in and lock in on him.
No.
The same. You know what I'm saying?
And you can't sag off him.
But if you do that, then you got Book and Beal on the
on the wings. Yeah.
And I watched him that year in OKC when Russ was out, when Russ broke his foot.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? No, Russ's knee. KD broke his foot.
Yeah.
Pat Beverly. Ooh, still want to fight him over that. But yeah, that year when Russ was out, I watched KD basically played like the LeBron light role.
Well, kind of, because you can't skirt over how much Reggie Jackson did for that team.
Yeah, no, Reggie and my guy Jeremy Lamb was there. Like they did some stuff, but I mean, I'm just saying, like KD was the guy in the key moments at the beginning of the game that they had, because Reggie's always been about getting buckets. Reggie,
but Reggie knows how to control the pace, and he did a good job as a point guard doing that. But when it came time for moments, the ball was in KD's hands. Yeah. Everybody got out the way, and he really solidified himself as a closer during that time when Russ was out. Yeah, no, most definitely. That's an interesting thought of him in Phoenix. I just can't see them working together again, and I don't think Book or Beal will want to be Draymond's teammate.
I wouldn't. But and then another team that I thought about that could be good, where they already have a logjam up front. I feel like if he could possibly go to Minnesota, who's balling this year, but you're gonna have to get trade for Gobert or something. You know what I mean? Switch them out.
I don't think he fits the culture there, because they had a similar guy like Jimmy Butler and Draymond and Jimmy are cut from that similar cloth, man.
But Ant is too. Ant is a dog.
But Ant's not that type of dog. He's not.
He's not a maniac, but he's a hardhead. I don't think him and Draymond. I think bringing Draymond will help with what's already happening. So it's kind of like a pass into the guard. They were trying to make this Cat's team. I'm not gonna call him what I'd be calling him behind closed doors. They're trying to make it his team. Now it's kind of shifting over to Ant's team, and now they're starting to win. Now, if you take Gobert out and you put, Draymond at the 4 and let Cat play the 5, I feel like Draymond is either gonna toughen Cat up or punch him out. Nah, because he don't really mess with big black dudes like that.
Nah. He likes small guards. Now, to me, the scary landing point for Draymond would be Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Because if he ended up in Miami
with Bam
and Jimmy,
I'm sorry. I like as a Laker fan, I don't want him, but I haven't seen anybody. Well, no, I take that back. Some of the bigger guys, Zubac guarded Jokic well, Embiid, but Draymond, he made it really.
He
really
makes it really tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't go for Dre doesn't go for the pump fakes.
Nope.
He stays. He knows how to use his lower body leverage to push Jokic out from where he likes to get settled. He knows how to play defense, and a lot of these guys don't know how to play post defense. And that, I mean, unfortunately, I hate to sound so simple with it, but a lot of that is these guys don't play good post defense, and Dre knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And because it's a lot of it's simple, man. Just stand your ground. Don't go for the fakes.
Yeah.
Don't try to steal. Just, match strength with strength. And then when the ball goes up, man, get your hands up, make it hard for them.
Exactly.
But these dudes, I don't know. You're right.
And my thing is, if anybody can make something work, Pat Riley will be the one to say, all right, like, this guy's a powder keg. You kind of need to get rid of him. I'll give you this. Take this and send me Draymond and.
But do they have anything the Warriors want?
I think the Warriors' biggest thing is their biggest need is to get rid of him. So what they get back in return, I don't think they're that worried about. Yeah,
I would take that kid, the Jaquez kid, Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah,
I like him. I can't quite put my finger on who he reminds me of yet. But he has an understanding. I don't want to put like the Larry Bird type of thing on him, but but just like that intangible, like understanding.
He sees the game.
Yeah, I like him. I like him.
All right, we are going to transition into our main topic that I invited my brother Greg on here for. For those who are still listening, at the top of the show, before even we hit record, I had a little not a spoiler, but disclaimer. This topic may be considered volatile. And even though I always have this show pretty clean, and we may say some things that are just out of emotion. You may hear some N-words fly. You may just as a disclaimer warning, this portion may not maybe not on own volition completely, but you may hear some things you're not accustomed to hearing on the original Jeek podcast, just because this topic is a little outside of the norm. So for some reason, as the fates would have it, on March 22nd, which happens to be a very special day for me, there's going to be a movie coming out. A movie that has some good, talented actors in it, which I'm wondering why some of these people are in this movie. But on March 22nd, the American Society of Magical Negroes will drop, starring Justice Smith, David Alan Grier, Aisha Hines, Nicole Byer, Ann Lynn Bogan, and Rupert. I think it's spelled friend, but I think it's like Freen, or I don't know how to pronounce his name. But that's because Rupert Friend. I don't know how he pronounces it. I saw the teaser trailer, and then G here posted the recently released trailer, which I watched, and I was like, yeah. And then she asked for some discourse, so I was like, you know what, I want to have this discourse with you. So that's the main thing that has brought Greg back to this show, is this trailer for the the American Society of Magical Negroes. I'm going to start the floor to you. Where is your mind on this film?
All right. So the first part is that I'll say is like, keep in mind that this is a satire.
Correct.
I think people expect satire to always be like funny, like slapstick or but satire isn't always it can be different. It can be produced different ways.
Correct.
So I think the first thing that caught me off guard is I woke up and I saw these people who thought it was going to be like Black Harry Potter, and I was like, that would be a terrible name in 2024, to call it that. So I don't know if everybody's familiar with the magical Negro trope in Hollywood.
Well, the internet would tell us that they're not, because so many Anglo-Saxons
like
and Caucasians are like, oh, this is Black Potter, and it's not.
Yeah. But there's a lot of Black people that did it too, and we, through the discourse, because I like to have like open, nuanced, like if you're just like, hell no, I'm not going to see it, then that's cool. But I don't feel like there's a lot of, not a lot can come from that.
Right.
But so for the people that, number one, didn't know, I got the definition here. I don't have my glasses because I'm getting old, but the magical Negro is a trope in American cinema, television, and literature. In the cinema of the United States, the magical Negro is a supporting stock character who comes to the aid of white protagonists in a film. Magical Negroes, often possessing special insight, mystical powers, have long been a tradition in American fiction. So to
piggyback off what G is saying, listeners, if you're not familiar or can identify a magical Negro trope in something that you've watched, think of something like Bagger Vance from Legend of Bagger Vance. Think of Uncle Remus from Disney's Song of the South. Those are two very popular, well-known magical Negro trope examples that you can.
The Green Mile.
Yes.
Yes. A couple of other Will Smith movies, a couple of Eddie Murphy movies, like Richard Pryor movies. Like some of our biggest icons have played this magical Negro role. Sometimes it might not register. I think Spike Lee, I want to say it was like in the early 2000s.
Yeah, like
Spike
2000, 2001, Spike Lee
he
really made it
coined
a term. Yeah.
And he was saying mystical, magical Negro. So
yes.
They took out the mystical part. But this has been happening forever. Like you said, I was, talking with one of my comic book friends, and I was like, dude, the majority of the Black characters in comic books are magical Negroes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
They're not really there for them. They're there to help the white person out, get the white person over the hump, blah, 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 blah. So it's not the concept isn't foreign to us. It's just that I don't know if everybody understood what the term was.
What the term was, or what the joke was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me being a little bit, film literate, when I saw it, I bust out laughing. I'm talking about before the trailer. Mm-hmm. When I saw that they were making a movie, I just bust out laughing because I'm like, yo, this is going to be hilarious. Or even bold just from them deciding to do this.
Right.
I didn't know anything about the guy. So through the discourse, because the discourse went on, and you can look at the post, there wasn't a billion people on there. But there was a billion people in my inbox. Like, so, we were going and so I was like, I had this thing. I had one mentor way back who always would tell me, like when we're trying to process and figure stuff out, he just always would be like, okay, now go one more step. Go one more step. Sometimes we get stuck,
right.
So they started like breaking down the guy. His name is Kobe Libby. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Who did the film?
The writer and director.
Yes.
So
Kobe,
Libii.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, his father. I went and did a lot of research. His father is West African. His mother is white.
Okay.
So, they pull up the picture of him, and since he's biracial, now, people is mudslinging, like,
yeah.
Oh, this all makes sense now, blah, blah, blah.
And Justice Smith happens to be the star.
And he's also biracial. And the love interest, they're like, white girl, but she seems at least part Asian. Like, just from looking at her, I didn't look into her, I'm not gonna lie. But they're mad that, he's, his love interest is a white girl. And I'm like, okay, so this is satire. Now, this is the guy here who grew up on I'm Gonna Get You Sucker and, Drop Squad and Bamboozled and Hollywood Shuffle. And I'm convinced now that if any of those movies came out today, our people would be rioting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they're all satire, and every one of those, if you don't feel uncomfortable watching the Boondocks, then,
you've got a problem.
You're a lost cause.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're
If
supposed
you
to
don't
be
feel
uncomfortable
watching Chappelle's show, you know what I'm saying? Some of those get, like, if all you can see is the humor at face value, then it's going to be tough because you're not able to look beyond to get the meaning out of what's being, said, right?
Absolutely.
So I just think because of where we are right now, people saw that trailer, they wanted it to be a black Harry Potter, and now they're really...
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because the teaser trailer made it look like it was going to be like a Black Potter. The teaser trailer really...
The first one?
Yeah. The teaser trailer really made me think, because at first I was like, the name said to me, okay, well, they're making fun of the magical Negro trope. And then I watched the teaser trailer and I'm like, okay, well, maybe it is going to be like an American Potter-type school verse thing because the clips and such that they used for it were like talking about them teaching him, how to be, kind of like this, you're a wizard Jamal type, thing. I was like, okay, well, maybe that's what it's going to be. But then this latest trailer which is completely different from the teaser because there wasn't anybody white that I really remember from the teaser trailer. So then I'm seeing this trailer and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is what I initially thought it was going to be because of the name. Mm-hmm. So, like, anybody that initially thought it was going to be like a Black Potter, I kind of get it because that teaser trailer really made you think that that's where they were going with this.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know if I even saw the original one. I just I guess I always assumed it was going to be about, because I just feel like if it was going to be, like something that's legitimate, like to take, more seriously, they wouldn't call it.
They wouldn't name it that, right?
And yeah, so no, that's fair. And that's what, like, I think that there's been a lot of learning just from the discourse from the trailer. And that's kind of what you want because it is a thing. It's a common thing. We have our jokes. Oh, if you see a black person in a horror movie, you're going to be the first one to die. Like, that's a standard,
the first one to die or he's running and you're never going to see him again.
Right. So when you see him make it, I always think of LL in that the shark movie. What was it, Deep Blue Sea?
Deep Blue Sea, yeah.
And it was like he actually made it. The end. Like that. Actually, they played off of that because you were expecting him to die so many times in the movie, and then for him to be the one that makes it out, it's like
we always shout out our brothers who make it out the horror movies. Yeah, shout out to LL. Shout out to Tay Diggs for surviving. What was that one? The house something. They were trapped in that one house. Tay Diggs survived that one joint.
Mm-hmm. This recent Exorcist movie, the black people survived. Like,
didn't Busta Rhymes survive the Halloween one too?
I don't think I saw that.
I think Busta survived the Halloween 20 or something like that. Yeah, it's for real. Michael Myers ain't catching Busta Rhymes. Come on now.
Yeah. So that was the really good dialogue came. I personally, like I said, I've seen, like, I watched Bamboozled with my grandmother. Nobody else would watch it with me. And after we watched that movie, where I think I don't know if I was out of school yet, but out of high school,
Oh,
But
you probably were, because I was in high school when it dropped.
It was 2000 when it came out.
Yeah,
So,
that was my senior year of high school.
Yeah, I had 2 kids by then. My bad. But like through that, my grandma and I, we had this really good conversation where she talked about, blackface and how it was processed by my grandmother was born in like 1938. So, really good, even though that movie was hard to watch, it was still like, I felt like it was necessary. Hollywood Shuffle, when I was a kid, I watched that movie and I just laughed. And then I got older, like in the late 90s, I was like, let me watch this again, just want to laugh. And I'm like, oh man, it's still funny, but it's poking so much fun at how black people are treated in Hollywood,
Yeah.
So I feel like this movie might be along that same line. I haven't known David Allen Greer to be like off the rails with coonery or any of that.
That's a fair point.
And Justice Smith, I've seen him teeter a couple of times. I think he's a pretty good actor. I didn't know until looking into it that David Allen Greer, I thought, like normal, he would be more of a, because I've never seen him in a movie where he was like a main character. He's always been like a
supporting
side character, right?
Yeah.
So I think he has like a main kind of role in this. So it's that kind of thing where I'm like, what I'm saying is I'm going to go check it out because I go see everything. And if it's some BS, then I'll be the first one to grab a pitchfork. If it's not responsible with the subject matter. It's funny because there was a lot of people that were like upset about the interracial relationship component.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but in these movies, magical Negroes always love other people more than they love themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be kind of standard. But again, I don't know. I did look the dude up on YouTube, and I found out I've seen a whole lot of stuff from him.
Okay.
He was on Jordan. I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Klepper.
Yeah.
He's one of the reporters from The Daily Show.
Yeah.
So Jordan Klepper had a show, and dude was like the same thing. He was like one of the reporters.
Okay.
So the comedy is very similar. Like the political humor, like the satire, poking fun at conservatives, like all that kind of stuff. So you can see that. You just Google, go to YouTube and just put his name in, and you can see, you can get a feel for at least the type of stuff he performed on that show.
Okay.
Which to me, you got to be kind of aligned with, or else because.
Oh, you may not pick up on what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that. But again, I don't know a ton about the dude besides the stuff that I recently looked up. But I don't know. I remember.
So it sounds like to me, just like from what you just shared with me, and what I've seen between the two trailers, it sounds like that Kobe essentially took the premise of making things look like a Black Potter type thing, but is, turning it into using that as a vehicle to talk about the magical Negro trope, but just using that as the vehicle of it, because so many little things, like showing wands and like magic type stuff, making it look very Potter-esque.
So I think in my this is what I'm surmising. I could totally be wrong, but so you remember like the Scary Movie series?
Oh, of course.
Where they were spoofing like several different movies.
Oh yeah.
Part of me is thinking that it might be going in that route, like that they're spoofing certain, like, so when you see like the Harry Potter references, they're spoofing that, you know, these movies in a way. That's the part I can't tell. So is it in a scary movie format, or is it more in like a I'm gonna get you, sucker? Or no, that's not even a good one.
No, I think it's more like Potter, because from what I'm picking up from the trailer, so like, you know, the whole magical society in the Potterverse is that the Muggles don't know about the magic world, and in this, it's the white people don't know about their magical Negro. They just think their magical Negro is their Negro friend.
Their friend,
and they're really, you know, they're their Fairly Odd Parent that's making, you know, keeping them comfortable. Yeah. So I think it's definitely more on the Potter type side of this, you know, this secret society to keep white folk comfortable.
Yeah. And that's the part, like, I'm not, it's like some of it is kind of like a wait. For me, it's a wait and see thing. I try not to overreact on stuff. I know when I first saw the trailers for The Blackening, I was like, yeah, this don't look like, this look like it's gonna be some mess. And then I got an AMC, like a pre-screen thing.
Oh, you got a pre-screen invite? Okay.
Yeah, it just popped. It wasn't like the the classy ones. It was like, I don't know if they was just trying to get people in. So it was like
hey,
2 days.
Our research says you black. You want to come watch this movie?
It's like, all right, hey, you've seen other black movies this year.
Based on your previous views, you watch black movies. Would you like to come see this black movie?
So they shot it to me, and I just, like, the theater is like 10 minutes away from me. And I ain't had nothing to do that night. It was like a Tuesday night. So I just went, and I saw it, and I loved it, you know? And
I did too. But I loved it. I loved it because I remembered the original skit that it was based off of. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, I'm really hyped for this because I remembered that original skit.
And so then I thought about, what's his name? So I was not a fan of the Key and Peele show.
Okay.
I felt like it was black humor for white people. You know, I've since gone back and looked at some of this stuff, and I was like, okay, this all right. But wasn't a fan. So when I found out that Jordan Peele was doing a movie called Get Out, it was the same thing. I'm like, and my ex, you know, we were together at the time. She was like, I don't like horror movies, but it's a black man making a movie, and you always say we gotta so we gotta go. And I was like, you're right. So we went, and again, I loved it. And me and her, we went back to the house, and man, we talked about that movie for like 3 hours and got into an argument because she was we were interpreting it differently. And I was right. Because, you know, I was like, and I mean, I was right based off of later finding out that Jordan Peele, like, my interpretation was, you know, kind of spot on with what he was trying to do.
He was right. Mark it down.
Boom. But when I found out we were already not together, so I couldn't, like, hey, I know, how you doing?
By the way, I was right.
Yeah. So I had to just kind of leave it. But, yeah, so it's like I know that, and then I also know, like, we're in this weird time where, like, there are real entities that are, like, aggressively trying to destroy any movies that have diversity, any movies that are directed by women, black women. We see what they did with the Marvels, and it just keeps going and going. So we're also in that thing where people are trying to tank movies. Like, they're, like, going out, like they said, I just saw a thing where they caught, I think it was like 10 accounts that have been review bombing diverse books. But the thing is, they caught them because they were bombing books that haven't been released yet. They haven't sent out advanced copies. So you don't even know what it is, and you're already bombing it. I went on I looked in the comments on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The discourse there for the Magical Negroes movie, the discourse there is way different than our discourse.
Of course.
It's, because it's a lot more, like I could either white or white presenting people who are like, this is racist and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, yeah, get y'all all out of there. So, I'm on a thing where it's like, I'll give it a shot. I've seen worse. I've seen stuff where I thought it was going to be good and it turned out to be, sheer unbridled coonery. So it's like, I got the AMC pass. I get to see 3 movies a week anyway. So
no, I got to see some of these YouTube comments now. Now that you brought it up,
dude, I was like, they're going in, and it was like, so like you said, they didn't even know. They don't know about the trope, and even if they did know about the trope, they probably wouldn't acknowledge it because it would be forcing them to, ask questions and look within themselves on how they view Black people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Some of these are interesting. If you remove the crazy racism, you could have had a generally fun and compelling story. Like, yeah, okay, you clearly don't understand what this movie is talking about.
And I was joking with one of my friends earlier. I said I was laughing really hard when people thought that it was just going to be like that. People that didn't understand the trope and they thought it was going to be like Black Harry Potter. I was laughing at those people because instantly, like it's already a joke that's been played. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I was laughing at like these people, like, where is it? This dude said, where's the one I just, dang it, I just saw a really good quote I wanted to talk about. Because the funny part is the magical Negro exists to make the white person comfortable. This trailer made white people uncomfortable, and they're not even getting that part. You know what I'm saying? Like that. It's like they're not getting that. There's a joke here because you're uncomfortable. So I'm sorry because I'm not saying this right. I saw a quote where they were saying it would be good if they took out the racial stuff and just this could be a super fun movie, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's right. If we made you comfortable, it would be good.
That's the joke.
And you don't get the joke. Like, so, I don't know. I do feel like I said earlier, a lot. I think society has been dumbed down to just see things at face value now. That's why we're so easily tricked. That's why I remember when the Harriet Tubman movie came out, there were people that were going around saying that in the movie, they made her have like a romantic interest with the slave master.
They definitely had they put a romantic vibe in there, and then they could not have the movie without having a white savior moment as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course those, but people were speaking like it was like she was holding hands and skipping and with this white man, and it was like that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. Yeah.
If there was a look at it in his eyes, like if he had a look where he wanted her more than just a slave, that was commonplace. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but yeah, it's like I've seen so many times where people just go right in. They did it with the Woman King movie. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, so I've seen people just go right in for the jugular, spread these rumors, try to tank a movie that actually was worth watching, you know. So, I don't know. To each their own. I'm going to go see it. Like I said, if it sucks, then I will definitely and I normally don't even do that because like I only comment if you see on my page, like if I go see at least three movies every week. And if you don't see me posting nothing, that means I probably didn't like the movie that I saw. But when it's something that I like, I definitely, share.
It's definitely going to be a very highly debated thing, and probably people, are just not going to see it, based off of their own preconceptions of it, especially from what I'm reading here. This one person, I remember in the 90s, I used to love and live in color. As a white kid growing up in rural America, it was interesting to see the urban black take on comedy. I love David Allen Greer, thought he was hilarious. It's painful to see this is what he thought of me the whole time. Like, really? Again, the whole point of the thing is you're not comfortable.
Right. And that part, man, because I feel like it has to be really, dug in. So, I think about Dave Chappelle, and this might sound a little bit controversial based off of what a lot of people, how, a portion of people feel. I feel like ever since, like, the late 90s, the comedy that he's had has always been subversive. It's always been satire, and there's always been, like, double meaning in what he says, right? So he makes, jokes about certain, parts of the population. He even tells you in those jokes, the only people he got problems with is white men. He'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But people are still thinking that he has a problem, but he's actually, in his way, he's teaching, and we grew up with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
We grew up with people putting double meaning because for a long time, black people couldn't even say what they wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
So Richard Pryor would get up and he would say it on stage, but he would make it a joke and make it funny to make people
make it more palatable for the white audience.
So, right. So it's like, I've been in a house where the crowd is probably 90% white, but he's doing this show for me. And I'm getting everything that he's saying, but these white people is like, they're falling over their chairs laughing, And it's like, we're at this point where it's like, we take things just for face value, right? So you don't get the Lil Jon skit. People was laughing because Lil Jon was funny in the skit, but the real skit was showing how Lil Jon he's playing a role. He's playing a coon. I happen to know somebody that went to high school with this dude. Dude was the valedictorian of their class. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was an A&R, like he ran a record label. He's not what he pretends to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He does that because pretending to be stupid, pretending to be foolish makes money. When you're into, I always do the, people joke about J. Cole. Oh, he's intelligent and he's boring and blah, blah, blah. But he cares about his people. He tries to make music for his people, but then they'll love like somebody like Lil Wayne who just doing maybe Lil Wayne ain't the best example, but somebody in that vein where they just making music to make money.
Right.
And it's all about the hoes and the drugs and the blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it's weird, but that's where we are.
Yeah. All I know is anybody that says they have a problem with this movie, but they don't have a problem with Tropic Thunder, they can, I got two words for them. And D-Generation X, tell them they can suck it.
Bruh. Because that one, I never watched that movie because of the blackface. And I love Robert Downey Jr., and I've heard the explanations behind it. But at the end of the day, blackface is blackface, man.
Exactly.
And that, and like every time somebody, people post about it or talk about it, and they act like it's such a great idea, and blah blah blah. I'm just like,
no, and every time I see people post about Tropic Thunder in the Extraordinary Journey of a Black Nerd Facebook group, every time I see someone post about how funny it is and how they give a pass on it, I side eye every single one of them people because. Like you said, blackface is blackface. I don't rock with RDJ since then. I haven't rocked with Ben Stiller since then, and I haven't rocked with Jack Black since then. I haven't watched a Robert Downey Jr. starred movie. Like the only movies with him I've seen have been the Avengers ensemble movies. But Iron Man 1, 2, 3, I didn't go to the theater. I didn't see him. I still haven't seen him. I don't Jack Black. I don't watch his movies. Ben Stiller, I don't watch his movies anymore. Like they see nothing wrong with what they did. Ben Stiller says he sees nothing wrong with what he did. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, because they got by on a technicality. I was like that. Remember, I can't remember the name of the movie. With C. Thomas Howell. Like
Watermelon Man.
Is that what it was?
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Where he was like, I feel like it was. Was it Soul Man?
No. Was it Watermelon Man? I know which movie you're talking about. No, that's an earlier one. Watermelon Man's earlier.
I think it might be Soul Man.
Soul Man, yes, with C. Thomas Howell.
That's it.
Yeah.
I as a kid, I remember looking at that and not even having an understanding at the time, but watching through some of it and just being like, nah, I'm good. Yeah.
And that killed his career. Like, his career was like that. Yeah.
And I really rocked with him off of Red Dawn and all that. Like, I liked him. As a kid, he was a dude you looked up to.
I mean, Red Dawn, The Outsiders. Like, he was an up-and-coming star.
Yeah. So, yeah, that one hurt too. So I don't know, man. I just, like I said, we're in this weird place now. And I also know that, like, when the lynch mobs get formed, like, the cool thing is through my dialogue, I've seen some people, and my goal is not to make you say, "Oh, I'm going to go see this movie. Oh, this makes sense. I'm going." None of that. I just wanted to open up the discourse because, again, I think a lot of people weren't familiar with the term at all. Mm-hmm. And if you're not even familiar with the term, then you couldn't even begin to process what's coming after, right? So you got to Saved by the Bell. They had a magical Negro. The dude that played in Tropical Thunder, the black dude, he was a magical Negro in Percy Jackson. Yeah. Like, Storm from X-Men typically acts as a magical Negro. Like, this is like a thing. It's not that you hate those characters necessarily. It's just you understand what they are.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you recognize the purpose.
Denzel in, like, Philadelphia, or like these movies, those are magical Negroes. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a love interest. You don't have much of a life at all. Like, the only time they show you, not for Denzel, but like for a lot of them, the only time you're on screen is when you're there to assist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Frozone.
Yep.
From The Incredibles. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so I will actually disagree with you on Frozone. You know what? No, I will disagree with you on Frozone because what they show with Frozone, and the relationship that he has with the family is more than the magical Negro friendship. So, for example, like, you couldn't get access to the Incredibles car unless you had the voice access. And Frozone had access to that family's vehicle. So, like, they did a really good job subtly establishing that there was a real relationship between these two guys as friends, that they knew each other's families, they spent time with each other. He was more than just a black dude who shows up to save my butt.
That's true, but at the same time, he was kind of the black dude that shows up.
I mean, he was in that aspect, but I felt that Incredibles did a good job through both films.
They went
and actually showing that these guys are actually friends.
Okay, yeah, I feel you there. They went above and beyond So he's a mystical Negro.
Right. Because at first I really thought I thought he was just their magical Negro as well. But then as I started watching it again, because my kids loved it, and I'm a Fantastic Four fan, and so I love this this Disney Fantastic Four. And I'm watching it again, and I'm like, hold up, like that the subtlety and the connection that they had. I was like, okay, they really they're doing more than making Frollo just the black dude that appears for them. Like they really, like he really trusts them. They really trust him. Like this is actually a real healthy relationship between these two, and not just, hey, I need help, black person, come help me, and now go away. He was actually there for them. And they were actually there for him.
That's legit. And I think another thing that we have to consider is, why are these characters being created in the first place? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because you think back, like I mentioned, most comic book heroes, right? But you think about Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, for instance.
Right.
Like when they're putting in these, black characters and characters of other races, in their heart, they're doing something that's good, right? I mean, in everybody's heart, because before that, we didn't see them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they are doing something that's progressive and, trying to move it along. I think what happens now, and when it gets to the point where it's kind of egregious, is when they're putting that character in so they can get the black dollar too. You know what I'm saying? That so the motivation for even putting the character in is means a lot, because like that, if you do it with care, when I was, for the milestone thing, they flew us to Burbank for a week. It was amazing. Wow. And I heard like the editor in chief, she said something really cool. She was like, we have, in the past, we thought diversity was creating diverse characters. But now we realize that real diversity is allowing diverse people to tell their own story, to tell their story. So it's a difference, right? Like when you start to put care into it, we hear the things, right? Like all the animated movies, black people have to be, like the black character has to be turned into an animal, like all these different things. So
tired of that.
Right. So
people like white people were like, "Oh man, Soul was such a good movie," and I was like, "Soul was a black dude turned into a blue blob and into a cat again." Like,
yeah.
The man was a blob or a cat for 99% of the movie.
Right. And so it's like that's the other part. So if this movie, so just imagine, right? This Magical Negro movie, it shows and it wins. I don't know. It's probably if it'll win awards or anything. No. But if it creates a dialogue where, just like me, because when I saw Hollywood Shuffle, like, dude, this stuff that I write, it's because of Hollywood Shuffle. It's because of I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. It's because like the first comic that me and Marcus did, it was like, I want to show this. Here, I got it right here. Bam. This is very old. It's called Starving Artist. It's it's like I wanted to show hip hop from a different side. You know what I'm saying? Because especially at that time, everything had turned into, how many diamonds and drugs
and hoes and cars.
So it's right. So it's like, if anybody reads this and or watches this movie and becomes a creator later, maybe they can keep this stuff in their mind. And so they can do more. Like you said, with Incredibles, they can do more with, when they're putting these diverse characters. I was almost on a project. We thought we had the project locked up, but it ended up getting canceled, where I was going to have to, where one of the main characters was gay. Mm-hmm. And so I've never written anything like, any gay characters, anything like that.
Yeah.
So I spent like a whole weekend researching, studying, looking up all this stuff, because I already understand that I don't want to make something that's just going to perpetuate stereotypes. And then I learned about the tropes. I learned like something that I never paid attention to because it didn't impact me. But a lot of times, like in fantasy or action, like more serious movies, whenever a character or shows, when a character reveals himself as him or herself as gay, a lot of times they end up getting killed shortly thereafter. And I just so happened to be watching a show, I can't remember the name, with the little black boy and the black girl. It's like old fantasy, Lord of the Rings-ish kind of. It was on Netflix, and it happened right there in front of me, right after I read about this. And I'm like, bruh, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, hopefully, if anybody does learn from this, maybe going forward, they'll be more cognizant when they're, producing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right about I remember Cracked. They did a video on that their YouTube show that they used to have after hours. And I loved that show. And one of their episodes, the premise was that gay people were magic. And there was and the guy was like, yeah, it was, black people were magic, and now, in every show, and now it's gay people. Now, gay people, they're an expert in this, or they're this and that, and, they die here, this or that. And it was, and I was like, I noticed, I was like, yeah, you're right. That is how it's presented.
There was another trope that I didn't understand is you can tell when it's, and it makes total sense once you think about it. You can tell when it's pandering, because if the sexuality of the person doesn't even come into play in the story, then they propped a gay person in there so they for diversity, right? So if it's a story about a basketball team and it's one dude running around like Lamar Latrell from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they're like Lamar Latrell, Revenge of the Nerds. Him being a homosexual didn't change the story in any way, except for you got to have something to laugh at.
Right.
Because back then it was for comedy, right? So his javelin scene, that's comedy with the floppy javelin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like, that they could have replaced him with or could have made his character heterosexual. It doesn't change the story one bit.
Correct.
So you only put him in there for that reason. And in this time, you're conquering you're hitting two diversity buttons.
Right.
Because not only is he gay, he's also black.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, but those are things I never would have thought of until I looked deeper into it, and that's what satire is.
Absolutely.
So I always go back to the Boondocks, man. Every single one of those episodes, there was more. Everything meant more, except for maybe that last travesty of a season.
Yeah, I don't even bother.
Yeah,
with that last
but
season.
Everything Aaron Magruder did, there was always double, sometimes triple
entendres. Yeah, absolutely.
It was never just a straight up story. Shit, half of the stuff that seemed ridiculously outlandish has played itself out. Remember the chicken thing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We literally had the chicken
We had
thing.
people fighting over chicken sandwiches in Popeyes. So
the
trial of R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, that literally ended up playing out before our eyes.
Right. So
Usher stealing people's women.
Come on, man. It was genius. He was predicting the future. I don't know. But all that stuff meant more. And I realized even back then, I was like Dave Chappelle mentioned that one time. He said he was talking about he went to Disney World with his kids, and he said people just kept coming up to him like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, hey, man, I'm with my kids.
My family, yeah.
Yeah. But when he was talking about that, I was like, all they got out of it was that.
Right.
They didn't understand that there was deep social commentary in there. You know, that this man, this intelligent man, in order to make money, has to pretend to be a buffoon.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like...
And that's all so many people got out of it. As we wrap up, you mentioned Bamboozled. So, you know, I was 18, you know, senior year in high school when Bamboozled dropped. And I wasn't a fan before I saw it because of how over the top and outlandish everything appeared just from the trailer. And so I was at a position, I ended up not watching Bamboozled 2 years later because I was heated at Spike because like I was like, we've had these problems. Like, where are you going with this? Like, I didn't see the point, you know, and I'm glad I waited to see it because I was, you know, it was probably like 4 or 5 years later. I was more mature and I was able to sit down because I knew if I watched it at 18, I would have probably given him the same heat I would have given, you know, a white director for making that film, and not looked at the subtlety of what is Spike trying to say here. Because to me, I was like, this doesn't need to be on the screen. Like we fought to get away from this. So why are you putting it back on? Why are you putting this on the screen? But there was still a message that needed to be said. And obviously, years later, Tropic Thunder does what it does, and you know proves that you know Spike had a reason to make this movie and make it the way he did. You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, for anybody that, you know, anybody, you are free to have whatever opinion you want to have on the American Society of Magical Negroes. But we wanted to have this discourse and share our thoughts with you just so you can potentially get a different perspective on this film. And if you go and see it, cool. If you don't go and see it, cool. Like, you know, that's okay. You don't have to watch the movie. You don't have to like the movie. But I encourage anyone to, if you see it with an open mind. See with as open of a mind you will watch Barbie with, or you will watch Oppenheimer with, and just go and try to have an understanding as far as where the film is coming from, and maybe coming from a point of view that you're not accustomed to.
Yeah. Speaking of Barbie, I saw people, because you know it just came out.
It's on Max.
On Max, yeah. And I seen people like getting up in arms. I'm like, I thought it was brilliant, but I don't hate women. I have a mother, I have a daughter, I got sisters, I got nieces. I love women, so it's like I'm good. You know, I was cracking up. I was in the theater, rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't. I didn't go see it. I didn't see Oppenheimer either because I have zero interest in seeing Oppenheimer. But Barbie, when I heard, so I listened to a couple of different podcasts review Barbie, and the discourse I heard piqued my interest. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I think I'll actually sit down and watch this film because I thought it was just going to be very lighthearted. I didn't know there was going to be any like real social commentary, to it. So now that I know that there's something deeper, now there's an interest for me, because before I thought it was just going to be Barbie type stuff, So, and being a father of primarily girls, I've seen enough Barbie stuff to last me a lifetime. Outside of Barbie Life in the Dream House, that is funny. That show was funny. I give props to whoever wrote Barbie Life in the Dream House. Shout out to y'all, because y'all that joint was funny. But I've seen enough Barbie stuff to last me. But I'm definitely going to watch the film. And obviously and I thought Margot Robbie, other Ryan, whatever,
Wow, yeah,
Remember the Titans, Ryan.
Gosling.
Ryan Gosling, young Hercules Ryan.
He was funny, and it's not like I don't think it'll bruise most male egos. It's just like the mouth breathers, the everything's an agenda type dudes. They'll probably
the incel crowd.
But it's funny. It's not. It wasn't hard for me to process, anyways. Like, it basically came down to, patriarchy versus what a normal society or what a matriarchal society would be.
Okay.
But it was fun. I didn't come out of it like I didn't really learn very much. One point was driven home, but I won't ruin that.
Spoil that for me. I appreciate that.
But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. My only other thing was that a lot of times with movies like that, they make their points, and then sometimes their points just aren't sufficient enough for me, because I know that it's from my experience, I know that the points they're making aren't coming from a black male or black female perspective as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and I wondered how much they would actually give to any women of color as far as a voice of their experience in the Barbie film. Yeah, because the only female I knew, name I knew of in the movie was Margot Robbie. So I don't know who like the supporting cast is. The only names I knew were Gosling, Margot Robbie, and Simu Liu from Kim's Convenience. Yeah, those are the only names I knew in the film. So, if anybody else
Issa Rae has a
Issa Rae's in it.
Yeah, Issa.
Okay.
It's not it's not a super role, but she's in it. There's a couple people you'll recognize. But okay. Yeah, no, I'm with you. There are, and that's where it just goes. Like for me, I always say there's steps to everything. Right. I think I look at it from the standpoint of, like I said, having a daughter, and like maybe even young girls can go and watch that. Or I think you have to be mature enough to understand, but they might be able to go and watch it and be able to look at certain things about how they're treated and how are they respected, like that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think at the very least it can be a stepping stone in that way. But yeah, I mean, overall, you're right. Like that's that intersectionality thing, right?
Right.
It's hard to be black. It's hard to be a woman. Well, it's triple hard to be a black woman,
exactly.
So, but even that, it can open up dialogue. I had really good dialogue with, a few women about that movie. So it's cool.
Well, maybe I'll have to sit down with my daughters and have them and watch it and have a mature conversation around it. Well, we're not going to end the show off something so serious. So, last question for you. If you were actually putting together a magical world of Negroes without them not being tropes, but just we're because I hate to plagiarize so much of Hogwarts, but if there was going to be a magic school, Western Hemisphere based, doesn't have to be the United States, can be Caribbean, South American, whatever. Give me 5 actors that you would want to see in a magical world POC story.
All right, 5. I automatically think about Digimon Hansu.
Okay.
Just like I love him playing the wizard in Shazam, and I don't know if you saw Gran Turismo, but I really liked him in that movie. And
I didn't even know he was in the movie.
Yeah, he plays the dad.
Okay.
It's also a way better movie than I thought it would be. So I would go with him. Uh, let's see.
An underutilized talent as well. Like if
I
we
need,
if we could have gotten him as T'Challa back in the
20 years
'90s,
ago.
like
Right, yeah. I had to have Tiana Paris. If I get to make a
wow,
movie,
man, I love Tiana Paris.
yeah, we go together. She just don't know about it. So give me some Tiana Paris.
Holla at my boy G Tiana. Bang his line.
Yeah, right. God, what's the young lady? Marseille. I don't know how to say her name. I think she played in. Is she from Blackish? Maybe.
Trying to think.
Yeah, Marseille Martin. She was the young girl. I think she would be the star because it'll be focused. I think she's probably around 18, 19 now.
Something like that. Yeah.
So I got those three.
Okay.
It's not gonna be Jonathan Majors. It's not gonna be.
No, Jonathan Majors is going to be playing a track star the way he was running away from that woman in that video.
Right.
My man was gone.
All right, so I got those three. Who is another? There's so many people. Nah. I need a funny young black man. Let me get back to that character.
Okay. No. God, this is hard, man. I should have prepped you with this one. Yeah. I'll let you think. I'll throw a couple out there for me.
Okay.
So like my headmaster type guy has got to be Joe Morton.
Okay. That's fair.
I love Joe Morton. I've loved Joe Morton since Brother from Another Planet.
Yep.
His work in the Scandal, his work in Terminator. Like Joe Morton can do anything. He's phenomenal. Him and especially like how he was in Eureka. But him with a little bit more of the Scandal edge. That strong parental, take no prisoners. I love Joe Morton, so I would say Joe Morton. I got to go with. She was the mother of the '80s. Probably the best portrayal of a mom on television, and that is the one and only Felicia Rashad. Okay, so Joe Morton and Felicia Rashad, those two, I think would be fantastic, and I think they would play very well off of each other. Somebody that's a little younger that I think would be entertaining would be Jay Farrow.
Okay.
I think Jay Farrow would just be able to fit seamlessly into a magical world. And then I would have to go with I don't know his name, but the Jacob Lattimore from The Chi. I think he's just really super talented. I think he would be a good young protagonist. And then the last one, I'm trying to think of the girl that played the daughter in Godfather of Harlem. I forget her name. I think she just has a very, she has like, her look is very like unassuming, but there's so much there. Like I think she emotes extremely well with her eyes. And so like, even though she has a very unassuming look, like there's so much you can get out of her from just her facial expression and the acting she does with her eyes. For the life of me, I can't remember her name. Okay, Demi Singleton.
All right, so you got Felicia.
I got Felicia. I got Joe Morton. I got Demi Singleton. I've got Jay Farrow. Joe, Felicia, Jay, Singleton, and who was my fifth? Oh yeah, the brother from The Shy, Latimer or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my five.
I got see now that I've had a little bit of time to think about it, I can come with a better strategy, right?
Okay.
So it's gonna be like a college type of thing where the kids are gonna be the stars.
Okay.
So I got Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marseille Martin. Storm Reed is the one that I couldn't think of.
Okay.
I absolutely love her. Like I haven't seen anything since she was a baby. I haven't seen anything she was in that I didn't love.
Yeah.
So I got them three. I'm gonna stick with Digimon. I don't know if I'm saying anything right. I'm gonna stick with him as the
Give us free.
Like yeah.
I'm a star.
And then so I think Shamik Moore is probably older than he looks, but I think
he's much older than he looks. Yeah.
But I think he can still play a college kid. So I think that might be my main cast. Because I would do some funky stuff with it. But again, make it more of like a teen type of movie.
Yeah, I mean Shamik is 28. But he was like 22 playing like 15 whatever, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's where I would go.
I like that.
And just have fun, man.
Especially Storm. I forget, Storm Reed, somebody that she was in my head too. Storm's fantastic. She's great.
I just feel like if they give her, like I saw her recently in that Nun movie, the new one.
Okay.
Which was, meh, but she is great. She was in that movie with Nia Long. She was the star of that movie with Nia Long, where her mom gets kidnapped.
Yeah, missing, something like that.
Something like that. I can't remember the name.
And she was in Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah. She's fabulous. She had a part in the movie about the show about the Central Park 5. I just think it was a kind of a small part, but
okay. And then she was just in the Last of Us show.
Yeah, I just think she's excellent, very, very captivating. I just been a fan since what was the movie? Beasts of the something Beasts. I can't remember the name of it. I think that was her when she was a little kid. But I could be wrong. But I don't know.
I think that's, and especially for the age range you're talking about, college age. I think that's pretty cool. That's really good. Yeah. And I like that neither one of us went with like going with like nothing against her personally. Just nobody said Zendaya or somebody like that Hollywood would just be like, yeah, we're gonna throw Zendaya in here. That's what we do.
I like Zendaya.
No, I like her too. It's just she's always, she's flavor of the month when it comes to stuff. Just like Zoe Saldana was before her,
Yeah, and it's like since I've been operating somewhat on the side of, like I'm trying to get into Hollywood and seeing like how hard it is for people, it's like I would be happier to like propel some of these people into the limelight than to take, oh, if I get Zendaya, it's automatically going to bring a certain crowd.
Right.
And, I'm an HBCU dude, so mine is going to have like a really, really hardcore HBCU vibe to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm not saying she can't play off an HBA, because HBCU students come from all over
types,
the place.
yeah.
But
yeah.
But we're going to be the American Society of Negroes.
We're going to be we're just going to be more, that's just, yeah. Well, we're going to see how the film goes.
Right.
We're going to see how the film goes. But for you all listening to this show, I want to thank you for joining us on the original Jeek podcast. I want to thank my brother Greg for being on. Again, check the description of the show where you can follow Greg on his socials. Also, there'll be some links to his work if you're not familiar with it. And again, I am your host, Rocky Mr. Magic, and I want to thank you not only for listening, but for supporting this show. Every time you download, it helps us out, get more exposure, more people to listen to the unique combination that we live in and offering the best conversation, combining the sports world and the geek world. So if you can rate and review the show on your podcasting app of choice, you can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, and others. And if you can't find us, let us know at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us directly on Facebook at Jeek Nation. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, clap for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek podcast.